Hi, and thank you for joining Chasing Energy. I'm your host, Daniel Lucas. So grateful to have you here today. Jacklyn with the Be Do Have movement is our guest today. This is episode number 46. And you will see links to her Instagram at the top of the show notes, as well as their website. The website includes a self-discovery quiz that's on their homepage, and that is the DISC profile. I highly recommend the DISC profile. It's not as detailed as the Myers-Briggs test, but it is a very good overview to look at some of your strengths and weaknesses of your particular personality types. And as Jacklyn outlines, how to communicate effectively with people of other personality types. I also, as a side note here, I also found the Enneagram to be very helpful with the communication aspects. I've done it before, and it's helped me immensely. Jacklyn, we talk about San Diego, why she lives there. Hint, it's the weather is wonderful. Her journey from a marketing agency to being a business owner with the Be Do Have. We talk about her main daily drivers, what motivates her. I specifically like what makes you jump out of bed. We talk about some of the benefits of knowing your DISC profile, some of the personal shifts she's made recently, including being a business owner, a personal coach, and being a creator. And then how does she coordinate the responsibilities with her dad, because he's a D on the DISC profile, and how they balance that out. We talk about her 5-star morning formula, which includes no phone, drinking water, learn something, a form of reflection, and meditation. And I'll probably do a solo episode on this. I read Brendan Mashard's new book, and I've read most of his books, and this one, in my opinion, was the best. I'll talk about that in a separate podcast. But we also cover, last but not least, evening routines and how they've been impactful for Jacklyn. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this podcast. It's time, if you haven't already, to leave a review. Please subscribe. I appreciate it so much, and looking forward to bringing you some more great content. Have a great day. Jacklyn Purvis, thank you for joining Chasing Energy, Be Do Have movement, work with your father. We're going to talk about mindset today. So first of all, thank you for being here. And where are you coming from?
So we are a Canadian-based company. I'm based right now in San Diego.
Nice. Canadian base, and you're in San Diego. It's just like the most expensive city in America to live in. So,
well, it's so beautiful though. It's the weather. It's the consistency.
No, I love San Diego. I ran the San Diego Rock and Roll Marathon and was like, this is such a cool place. Yeah. It was a while back. But they had a band every mile, which was cool.
I've seen it go through.
Yeah. It's fun stuff.
I like cheer on people. I haven't participated, but
you know what I remember the most was I was there for like 4 days. It was for the fundraiser, Team in Training, so leukemia, and the town, at least the city, I forgot what it was called, like the gas district, or
Gaslamp.
Yeah, Gaslamp. I go to it was either a bar or a restaurant. I was like, "What time do you guys close?" Thinking it would be like my hometown here, Tennessee. Oh, like 11 o'clock, and they're like, "Oh, just when things slow down, 3 or 4 a.m." Somehow I was like, "Whoa, this is a completely different culture for me." It could have just been that place.
Yeah. I think that one was just there. Toronto's actually has some places. Toronto operates like New York, so there's a few places grandfathered in. Side note, that stay open real late. So it's different everywhere.
I've not been to Toronto. I loved Montreal. So
it's beautiful. Yeah. You get that European kind of vibe.
It was called the European Brooklyn when someone was telling me
I
about
like
it.
that.
Yeah, because it had like all the different like Little Italy and all that stuff. And I tried a different cuisine every day. I did a different food tour like almost every day, and I loved it. It was fantastic.
That's awesome.
I told you on the pre-call, I love Canada. So, Jacklyn, I know you have a journey that you like to share about how you got to where you are, and sort of what your motivating factor was from stepping out of what someone would call, a path or a comfort zone and getting to where you are. So tell us a little bit about that.
So I come out of the marketing agency space. I went into that right after school, didn't know what I wanted to do, and kind of tried a few different things. I actually got my real estate license, tried out a couple things. Nothing stuck. And I did like marketing, and I started climbing the corporate ladder of it. So I got a few positions at one spot, and I was like, okay, I'll try a different location. And then the next company really realized I stayed where I was the first time for so long because of the people that were there. I worked with some really awesome people.
Hmm.
So I stuck it out. As soon as I left though and went to another place that didn't have that culture component, it just hit me honestly like
Yeah.
a ton of bricks. I wish looking back that I realized that first week and did something about it. I only stayed for a couple months, mind you, but I was just sitting in anxiety and where I was at. And through doing some coaching programs that my business partner, my dad was actually facilitating, I started to shift my thinking.
Hmm.
And once you do that, you can't ever go back to how it was before. So that was probably the pivotal moment that really just expanded my awareness and then increased my awareness as well about how unaligned I was in what I was doing.
Do you feel like you would have appreciated your father's partnership and guidance as much had you not stayed there past that anxiety period of a week and stayed for as long as you did?
You know what? It probably happened the way it was meant to because I had to go through that. I think you learn everything from what you go through.
Yeah.
And I think I had to go through that long enough to know 100% in my mind, like, this isn't for me. I had to sit in that like uncomfortableness to really be like certain about my next decision.
Hmm. I appreciate bad days more now than ever because whether it's a bad job, a bad relationship, a bad
Yeah.
meal, I go, oh, I'm going to appreciate the next one so much more now. So it's
You learn
context,
the
right?
most.
If you never taste anything bitter, then sweet doesn't taste as sweet.
I
That's my
love
thought.
that.
Yeah. So I start my
You
morning. Go ahead.
no, go ahead.
Oh,
Let's hear how you start your
I'm
morning.
digressing. I start my morning with this really healthy concoction that is tastes like. I'm gonna edit my language here. It tastes like kerosene in a cup, and it's got like all these herbs, and I always think, oh, I've got the, and I take a ice cold shower too. So I go, oh, I got this crappy ass drink and this cold shower out of the way, and now I can whatever comes at me, I'm ready now. So now you finish.
I,
I cut you off. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think we learn like learning to look at losses or lessons. That's what you remember. And that's almost what changes you the most. Like
Yeah,
wins are great, but
yeah.
I've always found lessons kind of push you to do something different.
Yeah, and my frustration with that statement, Jacqueline, is that too often people have the loss and don't take the lesson. And the only way you get the lesson
Mhm.
is
Mhm.
when you get through the situation, nature will tell you, ah, you've made it, relax, take it easy. But your executive functions, your cognitive brain should be telling you things like, what do we have to do to make sure this never happens again? How do we put things in place so it doesn't happen again? That's the part where the difference between those two words that I feel like is often lost in the ether of self development.
And it's also learning to explore that, right? Like you can go through something and never explore it and go through the same thing for the rest of your life. It's learning how to stop and slow down and reflect and sometimes it's getting support to get through that too, right?
Of course, yeah, being vulnerable, asking for help,
Oh
saying, "Hey,
yeah.
if I could have solved this myself by now, I would have done it already." So that's why I'm talking to
Yeah,
you. Yeah, yeah.
exactly.
So tell us a little bit about on the Be Do Have. Give us the overview here, and then I think if we have time, we'll talk about like I think you should have my disc profile. We can talk a little bit about that because I know that's part of your assessment.
For sure, for sure. So, yeah, the Be Do Have movement, we started doing this after I had left the space I was in. I was simply assisting, like for free, supporting my dad and just kind of building up what he was doing. And one day it was just like, hey, like, I think we can build this to help multiple people across the board. Let's make this vision bigger. And we've partnered up and now we help business owners, salespeople,
Hmm.
ambitious professionals go from stuck to successful. And a lot of the times, as much as people come for external support in their business, it's just as much mindset and life that comes into play to getting that external reward at the end.
In your experience with helping these individuals or business, is it generally growth they're pursuing, or is it frustration with the journey in terms of intrinsic value of what they're going through?
Depends what stage they're at. So I would say the people that my business partner and father supports sometimes coming in are already where they want to be, but they're not feeling fulfilled.
Hmm.
Now they're usually typically successful in that area already financially, and now they're looking for something more
Right.
fulfilling. I would say the clients I support are at a phase that it's just like, I don't know what I want at all. It's a lot more of a discovery phase of like, okay, how do I build routines and habits? How do I
Sure.
support feeling better now?
Okay. So a slight book plug here. Have you read Strength to Strength by Arthur Clarke?
No.
Okay. I think it was one of the big self-dev books last year, but legitimately and rightfully so. It was the whole point is it's designed for people who have already accomplished the American dream and gotten basically kind of they're in their the book is designed for people in their mid 40s to mid
Hmm.
50s where you're kind of like how do I get to where I enjoy life again? The kids are getting older.
Yeah.
I've topped out at this role. I don't know if it brings me what I do. And getting back to the core of what fulfills you and makes you happy. So tell me about when you think about your role, what brings you value on a daily basis? What gets you going in terms of you know jumping out of bed or not saying you jump out of bed every day, but what motivates you to say this is my calling?
The ability to know that from one way or another, I'm making a difference. I'm putting out something that's beneficial to help somebody else. And I never had that before. And
Okay,
I didn't realize how much I was seeking that
yeah.
piece.
You remind me of like when you're in the corporation and you're a cog in the system and you go, I just don't see how this helps the world because I'm filling out a TPS report for Jim or Joe. There's, I'm sure you've heard this analogy, but there's three men working, and the first man says, I'm building a wall and with the bricks, they're all working with the bricks. The second one says, I'm building a church. And the third one says, I'm building the house of God. So it's a question. They're all doing the same activity, but they all have a different intrinsic sense of this is the value of what I'm doing with my day, right? So much of that is interpretation. So yours is that you look at and say, I'm helping these people directly uh, shift, change, grow, and acknowledge what they do. Tell me how you leverage the disc profile to help people find that.
A huge component of how we use this is for communication.
Hmm.
So, any of our clients coming on, it's understanding how that person operates best. So, number one, we know how to communicate with them because it's going to be different for every personality. And also just teaching people how to work with each other. Oh, sometimes people come in and they're on a team and there's no communication between them. It's also something my business partner and father and I have used together because we have extremely opposite discs. So, it's learning how to speak to people, how to communicate, how to work with people, how to build relationships. Like sounds very basic, but it's the foundation
Hmm.
to business, success, everything. It really comes down to how you work with other people.
Absolutely. What letter are you?
I'm a high
High
SC.
S. Okay, so S, if I recall correctly, it's more like stability. C is detail
Yeah.
oriented. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, we would pair well because that's not my strong suits. When I went through when I did my MBA, it was four people per team, and they made us take a disc profile before you picked your team, and they said you're not going to want to all be the same letter. And then, man, they were right. It sure worked out well.
Well, it's true. If you put a bunch of people that think the same or act the same in the same group,
Hmm.
there's going to
Or
be some butting
yeah,
heads.
and they may not think or act the same, but they may deal with they may have the same weak spots. So, for example, if they're all D's, you have four people wanting to lead, regardless of whether they want to lead the same way. It's
Hmm.
kind of a conflict because nobody wants to, ensure that there's an audit process and that that this doesn't happen again or the stability of it. And with I being your networking people, right?
You're the people person. Yes.
Hmm. Okay, all right. So, give me an example of one of your more recent experiences that maybe you've updated your roadmap or changed it because of what you've learned in the process of helping people?
Say that one more time. Sorry, you're just cutting on my end a little bit.
Sure. Give me an example of how you have updated your Be Do Have Movement roadmap
Hmm.
based on something you learned from working with a client?
This would be something that we had developed over time, but it was really switching from traditional goal setting to tying in that being component. Like that's something we're focusing on now. We've always talked about it, but didn't always heavily focus on that with clients. And just talking about that almost on every single call. Like,
Okay.
who are you being? How are you showing up right now? And really incorporating that piece into how they're setting their goals, how they're showing up on a daily basis.
Okay. And if I'm not mistaken, being is your perception of yourself, correct?
Yep. Your qualities, your self image. Exactly.
Okay. Um, I've talked about this a few times with some other guests. I think it's extremely important, and especially because this is kind of a health podcast. You have people chime in who want to lose weight, and this is a big part of it. You have to define what is it about my unhealthy lifestyle that is because I've defined myself as the person who
Hmm.
does these activities or does not do these activities. And I heard you mention in the other interview about your 5 closest friends, right?
Hmm.
So
We're the sum of the people around us.
okay. We have different math because I think you're the average of the 5 people that you're closest to. I look at like they got some above you and below you on whatever particular respect. Of course, the other side of that is you pick your friends, you love your family. You can't really bump them off,
Yeah.
even if they are bringing you down. But you can limit yourself. Um,
Boundaries there.
Boundaries, healthy boundaries.
Exactly.
All right. So on that topic, tell me a little bit more about the disc and maybe an example of recently how you shifted that, got someone to shift the way they were addressing a problem.
And let me think for that one.
We can talk about me. I don't care because you saw my profile. I mean, you could give me advice if you want. It's whatever you prefer.
A client that I was working with recently, a big piece of it comes down to reframing. And they're somebody that works, they're a high C personality. So they really need to work through a process
Mhm.
for something. So sometimes it's not as simple as, okay, what's the best next step? Let's take action. Where someone that's a D is going to do that immediately, right? They needed, it was a couple sessions of breaking down, okay, what's going on? How can we reframe this? What does this look like? And just working through the process until they felt secure in then taking a step forward.
Mhm.
So it's really understanding how they tick and then seeing how they can reframe so they feel confident in that decision for themselves.
Yeah. So the example, I think the generic example of a C is computer programmers, right? Where it's very step driven. So do you advise them on how to interpret problems in terms of so stress is relative, right? Because
Hmm.
there's
Hmm.
good stress and bad stress. It's actually called good stress is called eustress, EU stress, and it gives us purpose. So in this particular case with the C, I would think, did you have to kind of redefine the the way that they were interpreting the challenges, or just the way that they were putting them on their roadmap for success?
A lot of the times it's, I would say, redefining it. It's looking at it differently, asking questions so they can
Yeah.
self-discover too.
Yeah.
Nothing that with my one-on-ones anyways that I do is I'm not telling them exactly the next step. It's really helping them figure that out for themselves.
Hmm.
'Cause I think people can connect to that on a different level and are more open to change when they're discovering what's coming up for them in real time.
Hmm. Okay. Tell me some changes you've made in your personal life, and I know you've talked about the difference between ritual and routine. Tell me some changes you've made in your
Mhm.
personal life based on your own methodology.
A few things. Identity shifts, I would look at them as. So coming out of like the marketing space at an agency, the first one I had to shift how I looked at myself and spoke and acted was being a business owner. Stepping into that was a big one for me.
Hmm.
Then the coach component as I got my credentials in that space, and also a creator, because a huge component to what I do is also online marketing and for our own business, though. So stepping into those three components, those were all big shifts coming out of the space I was in before.
Hmm. And how long did that shift take you? With the understanding
They
we're all a work in progress.
Oh, yeah. I would say they started one by one and in that order. Like, the most recent one I've looked at was the creator one, interesting enough, but I never looked at myself as that. So doing all of this marketing work and building a business and what that looks like, it always, even though I have a background in that, felt really hard to do. And recently, like a couple months ago, I just started looking at it like I'm creating something, I'm sharing a story. I need to think about this differently. I need to connect to this differently so that it doesn't feel heavy.
Yeah, and when you say heavy, do you mean in the sense that you've redefined your work as a form of art in terms of what you're creating?
Yeah, exactly. It was moving away from almost things being feeling like they're like a task list to, yes, I'm still going to work through that, but it's because I'm connected deeper to the purpose of why I'm doing it.
Okay, so what you've done is you've managed to turn a task into an alignment with this
Yes.
is my why. The whole Simon Sinek of, start with why, start with a purpose.
Hmm.
At the very core, what do you want to be? What do you want to do? And then build the
Yeah.
task in a way that supports your purpose.
Yeah. 100%. That's it.
All right. Tell me about some of the ways that you and your dad offset each other with your strengths and personality, and how you might leverage that type of approach with a client.
We also have different things that we focus on from a business perspective. On in terms of he's the I personality and the D, so he's fantastic with the sales component. That's his background.
Mhm.
I do a lot of our operating and marketing back end of things. And in terms of client calls, we just have different approaches.
Mhm.
I sometimes have, not to say a softer approach, but sometimes it's a little bit more empathetic and that resonates a little bit more with people depending
Yeah.
on how that person ticks.
Yeah. So we've covered B, talking about being the person, identifying the person you want to become. Tell me a little bit about do.
And due's gonna vary depending on the client that we're working with,
Mm-hmm.
because it's essentially, as an overview, building habits that are going to keep them on track with the outcome that they're looking to achieve, while maintaining that being component throughout that process.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be me simplifying that area, and the way that pathway, if you're a one-on-one client, is gonna look different. And then we do have a membership where that one's pretty much keeping people motivated and on track,
Yeah.
while reminding them about that being piece throughout a goals system.
Mm-hmm.
So every quarter, every year, every month, getting people on track to do that for themselves and for their business.
Okay. So
It's interesting enough.
that leverages accountability, is keeping them in check with what they've defined as what they are going to accomplish. And so you can go ahead on step 3 now.
And step 3 is that outcome based. So they're reaching a certain outcome, and it's almost as if it's why we're called the Be Do Have movement, because just as much as you're reaching that outcome, it's a movement, it's part of life. You're then setting a new goal and working towards the next thing.
Yeah, and you have a diagram on your site, which reminds me of like an inverse of Maslow's hierarchy. Very,
Oh, yeah, it is, I guess.
yeah, yeah. Which I think about. Maslow never had a pyramid. Like that was only designed after he was gone.
I didn't know that.
He had jotted some ideas, and they later turned it into a pyramid. But
That's interesting.
I think about that archetype all the time of, and this is what we're talking about really, Jacklyn, with a lot of your clients, which is what do they have? Well, if you remember the bottom of Maslow's hierarchy, it's things like air, food, water, shelter, and then relationships, and then self-efficacy. And once you've accomplished those 3, it's like, well, how do I get to the next level? How do I get to the next level? And that's I think a lot of part where you come in, right?
And it's always finding the right people to work with to get you there too, which I've realized on my own journey. Like, there's some people you're just not going to jive with. So always continuing to look for that growth and find someone that you do, so that you can get to what you want that much faster.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think that's part of, I do struggle on a regular basis. My day job title is a VP of innovation. And there are plenty of days where I sit here and go, I don't understand what my value is. Like and as much as I'm appreciated, I don't get a shortage of words of affirmation from my coworkers necessarily, but I think probably what you're talking about is one of my stronger suits, which would your disc profile would indicate that because it's a really high I, but they generally tend to place me in situations where there's a lack of communication and saying like
Mm.
we need a middle person here in between these two to maybe demonstrate empathy and understanding and all that. So talk to me. Let's throw you a little bit of a curveball here. Tell me a little bit about your how you incorporate health into your life and fitness.
That's a big one for me. That's something I've always had it as a goal. And that was an identity shift too, though. That interesting enough. That was something I always had as a goal, but it was never something I was consistent with. And now it's part of what I do every single day.
Yeah. So
So I have a
tell me what that
routine.
looks like. Tell me what that looks like.
I have we call it the 5-star morning formula.
Uh-huh.
It's 5 things I do every single day,
Mhm.
and it's a non-negotiable now. So I get up, there's no phone first thing. I
Ah,
always drink water before my coffee. That's pretty much that first star. I then learn something. So I love reading. I read first thing, making sure that's always 10 pages.
mhm,
I do a form of reflection. Sometimes I just whatever comes to mind. Sometimes it's like, how am I feeling today? What am I thinking about? What actions am I going to take to move forward? And then meditation. And I'm fluid with that. Like sometimes it's sitting in silence,
mhm.
sometimes it's guided, but it is those acts and then movement.
Yeah.
So fitness always I that changes mindset more than anything. I
I
find that helps so much with anxiety.
Jacqueline, that's solid. I think you're wise beyond your years. I I was laughing a little bit when you got to meditation because I set a goal for myself. I think it was yesterday. I was like, I'm
Okay.
going to just breathe for 5 minutes.
Okay.
And I will tell you, I've taken on some big challenges in my life where I got nervous, with in the physical realm and some of the career realm. And I actually felt just a quick flash of anxiety, like just for a
Mm.
millisecond, because I was like, 5 minutes of breathing? Are you crazy? You're lazy. You'll put on 2 pounds while you're doing that. Um, so even the simple things can be overwhelming when they're outside of your comfort zone. And I think you're by the way, as a gold star, that is a gold star morning, if there was one. All right, so tell me a little bit on. I usually ask guests, what are your top 3 supplements? Your favorite 3 supplements?
Ooh, favorite 3
Mhm.
supplements. Trying to think which ones I'm doing right now. And do you mean in terms of like
It could
what do you mean by that
It could be,
before I answer?
maybe something you've changed about your diet or something that you feel like gives you an edge in life. Do you do intermittent fasting? Do you do coffee in the morning?
I do coffee in the morning. A big thing that I've shifted though to recently is I know you're probably gonna know better than me on this, but I know you're supposed to wait an hour at least before you have coffee, which I haven't gotten to yet.
90 to 120 minutes.
90? Oh, man. Okay, so I don't do that, but a big change that I have made towards the direction, at least, is getting in I drink 32 ounces before my coffee,
Mhm.
and doing that has made a significant difference
Yeah.
because I'm still not waiting that full amount of time.
Mhm.
I take now that's a new habit too, supplements daily.
Yeah.
So things like magnesium every single night has made a huge difference for my sleep.
Mhm.
And another thing is we talk about day routines all the time, like morning routines, but making an evening routine has actually been the thing that's helped more than anything.
Oh, yeah, I've spent many of these podcasts talking about evening routines. Do you have You can go
Yeah,
ahead and walk through yours. I'm all ears.
I do. So I have a planner that we've created, and I do a daily win. I write down and reflect on a daily lesson, 5 gratitudes. I prep for the next day. What am I missing here? Oh, and my to-do list, that was the
Mhm.
biggest one. That's what's changed everything is I always have my to-do list for the next day written the day before,
Mhm.
and that just releases, like, the overthinking
Okay.
that I used to
Okay.
experience at night.
I think that's very wise. I've by the way, I've heard that before, but I've not done it. So I'm going to, as effect from this conversation, I will definitely start leaving with my top 3 for the next day. Maybe that'll give me a little more kick in
Exactly.
my step in the morning. Jacqueline, this has been great. Where can people find you and learn more about Be Do Have?
So Instagram and Facebook at Be Do Have Movement.
Mhm.
And our website is bedohavemovement.com. And that's also where you can find the self-discovery quiz.
And what happens after I do the self-discovery quiz? Like, what's the next steps?
You immediately are going to get your results, and you're going to get the option as well to opt into a boot camp where we basically send you a series to help you break down those results, because you're going to get a report that I think it's about 10, 12 pages. So it's going to help you dive into that and stay accountable and go through, what does this mean and
Yeah,
how can I make this work for me?
I'm looking at it. It's very helpful. You know, how could you better handle a situation? And then there it shows you the two numbers. One is when you're under duress, and when you're in your natural state, right?
Yes, exactly. And what I like with it too, it's also looking at the other styles that I'm not, because I can almost tell now when I'm talking to someone what they are.
Yeah.
So I know how to approach it a little bit differently.
Yeah, on a similar note, I love language. I generally like to figure out
Yes.
people's love language
Yes.
because I think if I'm
Oh, that's a
this is
big one.
this is a person where if I give them a compliment, they're not going to give a rip. But if I show up and bring them a gift, they're going to be like, "Oh, this guy really does acknowledge." Or I'm big on sending letters. So when you think about it,
I love
when you
that.
give somebody a handcrafted letter, you're two and two. You're giving words of affirmation.
Oh, that's
you're giving them
good.
a gift. You could argue it's quality time if they're reading it, but I don't know. I think that might be a stretch. But it's certainly an act of service to write a letter. It's such a rare thing these days, and I do it on occasion. I do it for some of my guests. I do it for some of my coworkers. But I actually even have the wax stamp
Oh,
on
man.
the thing.
That makes you stand out. It's true. I actually just had a conversation with someone about that. They sent a Christmas card, and everyone sends them now on these, like, pre-printed
Stop.
templates.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, and
Shutterfly.
they actually wrote a card and put a normal picture. I was like, "I love this," and I'm now gonna keep the picture up all year and not just for December.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So
Thank
it
you, Jack.
stands out.
Yeah. Well, I am so grateful we got to connect to you with you today, and I wish you all the best, and I hope your message is heard abroad. I'll put the show in the show notes. I usually put the link to your website and your Instagram, and
Awesome.
I wish you all the best with your be do have.
Thank you, Daniel. It's
Mhm.
been awesome.
Thank
Thanks
you.
for having me.